Hello, I'm Father Balmax Pereira, and this lesson is for the first year students of Bachelor of Science in Botany, and this is Environmental Biotechnology. We are dealing with the international and national legislations, policies for pollution management. Today's module name is Water Pollution Prevention and Control Act of 1974. We will be going through the background of Water Act, the Water Act of 1974. We will see the main objectives, definitions, constitution and composition of the boards, and penalties and disqualifications that are there in the Water Act. It will help us to understand the water legislation in India. It elaborates the constitution and composition of pollution control boards in our country. It explains the working of Water Act of 1974. As we go through this module, most of the things will be in text. So let us understand why we have to have this Water Act. We know the water cycle and how important water is. Water is a gift. The water comes from rain, ice, snow. It falls down to the ground. It gets into the groundwater. Groundwater is discharged as fresh spring, or it comes as a surface runoff, and this water is used by us. And finally, this water might run into the oceans, or it might get evaporated. And we have different processes like evaporation, evapotranspiration, condensation, precipitation, and once again the water cycle continues. We have so much water, yet we face shortage of water. And fresh water availability, how much is it? The distribution of world's water is, we have around 97% of water, and the land is scarce. Yet out of this 97% water that we have, fresh water out of that water is just 3%. And this fresh water that is there in the world is mostly in the ice caps and glaciers that constitutes around 79% of the fresh water. Around 20% is the groundwater, which some of it can be used. And the accessible surface water is just 1%. So we understand how important it is to use water judiciously and also to control the use of water and preserve and conserve this water. So we have lakes, we have water in different forms, we have soil moisture, we have rivers. So all this water has to be taken care of and used judiciously, and that is why the Water Act of 1974 becomes important. So Water Act of 1974 speaks about prevention and control of pollution of water. So in 1974, it was enacted, and precisely for prevention and control of pollution. At the same time, maintenance or restoring the water that is there as a gift. Now there are so many acts that have come because of water. The Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1974. In 1977, we had the Water Act, Water Cess Act, once again Prevention and Control of Pollution. In 1978, the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution, we had Cess rules. And in 2011, we have Coastal Zone Notification, which speaks about water. Now the 5 main objectives of this Water Act of 1974, first is no pollution. So Water Act provides for the prevention and control of water pollution, and thus maintaining or restoring the wholesomeness of water. Wholesomeness of water would mean that the water can be used, all the properties, the natural properties of water are preserved and they are used. So no pollution becomes the first objective. The second objective of this Water Act was to establish the boards, the Central Board and State Board, the State Pollution Control Board or Central Pollution Control Board. And these are established for prevention and control of water pollution. Now, as such, this Water Act gives powers and it provides for conferring and assigning of powers to such central board or state board and the functions that are relating to the matters that are connected with water pollution. It also provides for penalties. The penalties are for those who go against the provisions of the Act. So any contravention of the provisions of Act is to be dealt with, and those are the penalties. And the fifth objective is to establish the pollution testing labs. Because we are dealing with pollution, the boards should have at their disposal the pollution testing laboratories, whether the central board or the state board. So anything that is in excess or that leads to pollution, after knowing or after testing, the board can come out with some standards or criteria and also establish the guilt and default and provide for the penalties for those who break the laws. So some definitions that are available in the Water Act in Section 2 of Water Act. Board means the central board or the state board. Now, these are also constituted under certain sections. Occupier is a person who occupies a factory or a premises or takes control over the affairs of the said factory or the premises, and also those people who are in possession of certain substances, they are also occupiers. Pollution means any contamination of water or alteration of physical, chemical, and biological properties of water, or disposing of any sewage waste in water, which is likely to cause nuisance and it renders such water to be harmful or unusable for the general public. So that is pollution of water. Trade effluent is defined as any liquid or gaseous or solid substance which is discharged from any premises used for carrying out any industry or operation or processes or treatment and other disposal systems except the domestic sewage. Domestic sewage is sewage, but it is not called as trade effluent. So therefore, if water is unfit for domestic use or for commercial use, or it becomes unfit for industrial use or agricultural use, or any legitimate uses of water that can be done, then it can be called as, or it can be considered as polluted. So for such reason, there is a standard that is set up by the government authority. So it is defined as a plan that is established by the governmental authority as a program for prevention and control of water pollution. Criteria means the scientific requirement on which a decision or judgment may be based on. So this criteria is set up by, once again, the authority, the boards, and it is concerning the suitability of water quality, and for such suitability of water, we need the standard to be maintained. So the regulatory system under the Water Act of 1974 is, the key is prohibition of disposal of polluting matter, because it is disposal of polluting matter into water bodies that causes most of the harm. So it says no person shall knowingly cause or permit poisonous or noxious or polluting matter to enter into the streams or the wells or the sewer line or the land. However, law also allows discharge of pollutants in the water after their treatment, and hence we have different type of STPs, the solid treatment plants or the solid waste treatment plant or even water treatment plants. So after treating this, water can be released into the water bodies. So anyone who wants to establish any industry has to obtain a consent of the boards, that is the state board or the central board. in order to establish a industry which we know it is likely to discharge sewage or trade effluents into the water bodies. So both the ways, either it is domestic sewage or the trade effluents that will be released into the water bodies, and that will render the water bodies polluted. It will render water polluted. Hence, they need to be checked. So accordingly, the Water Act constitutes three boards. One is the Central Board, which is called as Central Pollution Control Board. The other is State Board, and also a Joint Board. Now the constitution and composition of this board, Central Board, is in section 3. So the central government, through a notice in the official gazette, has the power to assign or to set up a central board which can be named as Central Pollution Control Board. Now it is composed of these members. There is a chairman who has the knowledge or has practical experience in dealing with the cases relating to environmental protection. So the chairman is to be appointed by only the central government. Then there are 5 officials which represent the central government. Plus there are another 5 members which are to be nominated by the central government, and these 5 members are from the members of the state boards. So in order to have people in the central board, you have to have a state board in your state. There are 3 members who are appointed by the central government to represent the interest of agriculture, fisheries, trade, or any other interest as the government may seem fit. So if there are more interest, then the members will increase. So 2 persons to represent different companies or corporations which are owned, controlled by the central government. And finally, a full-time member secretary. A member secretary has to be the one having the complete knowledge. He has to have experience and qualification of scientific management and prevention of environmental pollution. So the functions of the Central Pollution Control Board would be, first and foremost, the main function which is spelled out in section 16 of Water Act is to promote cleanliness of streams and wells in different areas of the states. It is also supposed to advise the central government on water pollution, also coordinate the activities of state boards and resolve disputes among them, provide technical assistance and guidance to the state boards, and carry out and sponsor investigations, research which is related to the problems of water pollution and prevention and control or abatement of water pollution. Also, it plans and organizes the training of persons for prevention, control and abatement of water pollution. Organizes through mass media a comprehensive program regarding water pollution. Also, it collects, compiles or publishes technical and statistical data and the measures devised for its effective prevention and control, and it prepares manuals, it prepares codes, it prepares guides relating to the treatment and disposal of sewage and the trade effluents. And also it shares or disseminates this information that is connected with water pollution. Also, the function of the central board is to lay down or modify or annul, or in consultation with the state government, the standards for streams and wells, and also plan and cause to be executed as a nationwide program for the prevention, control and abatement of water pollution. State Board, State Pollution Control Board, once again the constitution and composition is the same as the central board, but state government through its notice in the official gazette has the power to assign and form the state board, and it is called as State Pollution Control Board. In Goa, we have Goa State Pollution Control Board. So it has a chairman who has the knowledge, same like before, and 5 officials which represent the state government. 2 members are nominated by the central government from the members of the state board. There are 3 members that are appointed by the state government to represent different interests. Once again, the agriculture, fisheries and trade. Or if there are more interests, then the government may suggest more. There are 2 persons who are representing the companies and corporations owned and controlled by the central government and operated by the state government. So a full-time member secretary who has the complete knowledge, experience and qualification to manage. And the functions are almost the same like the central board that is formed, Pollution Control Board. The joint board is between the 2 states or a state and the union territory and the central government. So the composition of the joint board is provided in section 14. A chairman, once again, who has knowledge, experience and qualification in the matters relating to prevention and controlling of the environmental pollution. It has 2 members from each state government nominated by their respective state to represent the state at the joint board. 1 non-official appointed by each state to represent the interest of agriculture, fisheries and trade or other interest if the participating state has the interest, or 2 members from the companies, corporations nominated by the central government which is owned and controlled by the participating state, and a full-time member secretary like the previous 2 boards with the required skills, experience and qualifications in science, engineering, management and the know-how of how to control and prevent pollution, and it is appointed by the central government. So those who fail to comply with the orders of the board have to be given the penalties, and the penalties are various. The conviction, if convicted, is punishable for imprisonment, which can be for 3 months or 6 months, or fine, or both. So apart from the above mentioned penalties, section 42 mentions penalties for different kinds of acts, namely if the person removes, destroys or pulls down the notice put up by the board, that is Pollution Control Board, or if someone obstructs the member of the Pollution Control Board who is on duty, or if any person fails to produce any information as required by the member of the board for performance of his duties, or any person who gives false information to the members who are on duty. So these are punishable by imprisonment, which is maximum for the period of 3 months, or fine, or may extend up to 10,000 rupees, or both. So any member of the board can be disqualified. Now, what are the matters that disqualify? The person who is judged insolvent or has not paid his debts or has compounded his creditors, or a person of unsound mind, or a person who is holding any office of profit or is salaried employee of any company or firm which is connected to the Pollution Control Board, or if a member has misused his powers by virtue of being a member or holding any position in connection with the board, then this type of a person can be disqualified. So these are references. Thank you.